Hey friends, welcome back to my channel. It's been a while since we've had a candid chat on household preparedness and just preparedness in general. This is kind of at the forefront of my mind right now for multiple reasons. I haven't had preparedness at the top of my mind for most of 2023, and as a result, the items that we choose to keep 6 to 12 months on hand have dwindled significantly this year. Now, the good thing is it doesn't take but 2 or 3 months of being intentional and having a specific list of items that we want to restock. So that is going to be a goal between now and January, February. But in this video, I primarily want to talk about the top reasons that preparedness should be at the forefront of your mind in the coming year. One obvious reason that we should be talking about this right now is inflation. The cost of groceries, the cost of food continues to rise. We have seen some things fall back to a more reasonable price, like eggs, for example, but there are plenty of other things that are still very high. Two things that we're paying close attention to right now that has been in the news a lot over the last year, and that is wheat and rice. Thankfully, the US produces a ton of our own wheat, and what we don't produce, we primarily get from Canada. So things like the India export ban on rice is not affecting us. However, rice is a crucial staple for over half the global population, and the world is now bracing for the most significant rice shortage that we've seen in over 20 years. Most of you know, China is the #1 producer of rice in the world, but India is #2. And with India banning the export of rice, that has contributed to acute food insecurity for over 330 million people worldwide. Those people don't know where their next meal is coming from. Did you know that California produces 99% of our commercially produced crops? I was actually pretty surprised to learn that we only import about 15% of our overall food supply. However, we also export a lot of those commercially produced crops to other countries all over the world. For those reasons alone, it is extremely important that every household thinks about storing at least 3 months worth of food in their pantry, in their freezers. Why would you not? If it's readily available and you can afford it now, why would you not go ahead and have a bit of a cushion for your family? After everything that we saw in 2020 and 2021, it seems utterly foolish for families to have no food storage whatsoever. Another very logical reason for you to be assessing household preparedness as we approach 2024 is that it's going to be an election year. Between mainstream media and social media, Americans take politics personally now more than ever before. Not only do politics sever families and friend groups, it has resulted in entire communities rising up with hatred and violence against other entire communities and people groups. It's absolute insanity, and it's heartbreaking to see this in our nation. One can no longer simply hold fast to their own personal beliefs. Disagreeing with someone else's choices now translates to hatred and fear, which is completely ridiculous and illogical, but it happens every single day. We've seen it all over our country, particularly over the last 3 or 4 years. As a result, it puts our security and overall peace as a nation in a very vulnerable and volatile position. We're in an incredibly unique time in history. We have instantaneous world news updates at our fingertips every day. As a nation and around the world, we can see and feel the tensions rising daily with the war between Israel and Hamas. The fighting has already spilled over into surrounding countries, and the White House has done several press conferences over the last few weeks on the number of attacks on U.S. installations, carriers, and aircrafts by Hamas. Could it be because they want a growing reason for us to join this war? I certainly hope not, but it is not out of the question. Just over a week ago, the U.S. Army issued a, quote, sudden and chaotic string of orders to immediately fill 800 seats at the recruiting school, end quote. The article also stated that it was unclear why service planners decided to fill the recruiters' school so suddenly. Why would the U.S. military suddenly need 800 new recruitment officers when military recruitment is at a record low right now? I'm curious what your thoughts are on this topic. At the beginning of this year, Air Force General Mike Minahan told NBC News that he predicts we will go to war with China in 2025.
particularly because China may choose to take advantage of the U.S. being utterly distracted by our 2024 presidential elections.
No one knows what it would look like for the U.S. to join a modern world war. News traveled so differently in World War I and World War II. In both of those wars and 4 others, the U.S. instituted a draft. Many speculate that if the U.S. joins this war, a draft will be instituted for a 7th time. I personally have 2 sons who are between the ages of 18 and 25. And that's terrifying to me. But these are all things that we have to be discussing. We cannot stick our head in the sand in times like this. I know this was a lot for one video and definitely outside the scope of what my most recent videos have been about, but I feel it's an extremely important one. I encourage all of you to remain informed and to assess how prepared your household is for any number of things, whether it be the predicted harsh winter that is coming our way because of El Nino. My area in the southeast in particular is expected to have record lows, possible snow and ice, which is not normal for us, so we are not very prepared for things like that. We were hit very hard by the 2014 ice storm. We were out of power for a week. I was pregnant at the time. We didn't even have a fireplace in our home, and we most definitely did not have food storage back then. A lot has changed over the last 9 years, and I'd like to think that we are much better prepared for weather disasters and power outages than we've ever been, but I still want to take regular assessment of what we could improve on.
My personal favorite weather resource is YouTube channel Ryan Hall, y'all. He is the most accurate and informative meteorologist I have ever followed. Not only that, but he and his team give back both in money, resources, and time spent in service to communities that have been hit by severe weather. I'm going to link his channel below. Lastly, my favorite source of news without political bias and unnecessary emotion is Jenna Lee at SmartHer News. I will leave a link to her site as well, and I encourage you to check her out if you're on social media.
In my next video, I'm going to take you along with me as I assess our current household preparedness and talk about how we decide what is most important for our family. I'll be taking inventory and making lists of the things that we need to restock over the next couple of months to be best prepared going into 2024. I'm also going to include links in the description box to the articles I referenced regarding the 800 recruitment officers that are now being called up and trained, as well as the conversation that Air Force General had with NBC News at the beginning of this year. I hope this video was helpful and inspiring for you to start to reassess your household preparedness, and if you never have before, now is the time to begin. Please feel free to leave helpful tips in the comments, and as always, thanks for watching.